Call meeting to order. Just to let everybody know, executive session was held Wednesday, May 17th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. to discuss any program changes for the CTC for the 2023-2024 school year. Is that Wednesday?
On behalf of the board and Mr. Panzello as president, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. We had a very productive meeting on May 17th. A lot of opinions and input were received, a lot of different lenses, a lot of views. And overall wholesale changes to the CTC will not be happening for the 23-24 school year. There'll be tweaks and there'll be some better utilization of staff, which could involve different programming in that building and programming in other buildings, but as far as any academic, strictly academic, the 4 core classes that are there, we received great feedback from the teachers, and we value them and value their opinion, and we appreciate the long evening that everybody put in, and we anticipate no program changes in those 4 core critical classes.
Thank you. It was very informative, I thought. It was nice to have everybody together and get everybody's opinions. I hope that they liked it. I hope we can do more of that. Moving on to, we can table 2 through 5. Are we going to do the presentation tonight, Sheree?
Yeah, we don't have the slide, but I did hand the board out my presentation, and it'd be okay to go from those.
You're going to do it on Wednesday too?
I'm sorry?
You're going to do it on Wednesday too?
What would you prefer?
Prefer it Wednesday or just
Prefer you
both
doing
days?
Wednesday?
Maybe probably nobody would listen.
I'm
I'd rather
fine
have
with
somebody
doing
here.
Wednesday, if you just want to hold on to your copies.
Yeah.
I apologize.
All right.
I just asked Mr. Panzello, as the board digests this, if they have any questions, to reach out to us, and we can try to see what we can get as far as questions out of the proposal. So out of the presentation, if they have anything we need to clarify, I know that Sheree and Jennifer have been working doggedly on this, and I want to thank them and their team. And if we have any questions out of this, we'll take it out.
Thank you. What we need to do, were you going to do a slide or not?
Yeah, I mean, I have a slide, I did miscommunication apparently.
Oh, that's all right. It's up to you. You decide what you want to do for Wednesday, but that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
on Wednesday, you just keep those because that's the slideshow. I'll just do it in public on Wednesday that way the public can also see it on the screen.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll just move to public comments for agenda items. Cecilia Driscoll, topic of pass. And just remind everybody you have 3 minutes.
I'm Cecilia Driscoll. I am a Conway High School graduate. My children, one of
Oh, yeah.
There's a button. I'm proud of
We'll restart your time because it took John a while. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, can we start over? So I am Cecilia Driscoll. I'm a high school graduate here. My children, one of my grandsons is also a Conway High School graduate. I'm a taxpayer. I hold a master's degree in social work. And I'm a business owner in the Connellsville School District. So you can see I'm very vested in this school district and this community. So I'm here tonight. I have a lot of items that I could talk to, but tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about the PASS program and some of the other SEL programs and curriculums that are now in place in our school. For the audience and the board members who don't know what PASS is, it is an SEL, which is a social emotional learning assessment tool. It's used to measure a child's perceptions, beliefs, and cultural belief system. If the child does not meet this or score high enough on the assessment, then your child would have to be counseled. And this would continue until this child meets the standards or is properly programmed or has given in and decided to play the way that that teacher or that assessment tool will require them to play. The tests are performed, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the past test assessments are at the very young ages, easily programmable ages of 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th grades. The last meeting, you all voted to purchase the MyView curriculum at a price tag of well over $500,000 for 6 years. That's over $500,000 in a district that's struggling financially. This program, when I had talked to several board members, I asked them if they had researched the program or had they had any teachers research the program and evaluate it. And I was told by everybody I asked, no, they had not actually looked at the program. I had one board member tell me that we have a highly paid director of curriculum to look at these programs, and we trust that person's recommendations. I've also had other board members tell me that they were told this is not an SEL program. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you go onto the MyView website, you will find one of the first things that you see on the left-hand side, very large, at an angle, says Social and Emotional Learning Program.
2 minutes.
Now, you do have to obtain login credentials to get into there by using your school email account. I would hope that all of you have a CASD email, and I would like to understand why, if you are voting to spend over $500,000 and you are talking about our children's education, why would you not go on there, research the program, find out what it entails and what it does, and then make an educated decision? None of you have done that. You chose one person's opinion.
3 minutes.
Okay. Now, if you think that we've not allowed CRT and social programming into our schools, look at the culturally relevant and sustaining program, the PA Department of Education.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but your 3 minutes is fast.
Wow, that last two went faster than the first one. I would just like to close and ask you to please consider the past program. I'm going to ask that you not renew that program. And also, KDKA has told us that there are 3 school districts in southwestern Pennsylvania who are filing a lawsuit against Pennsylvania for the CRSE program. And I would ask that you consider looking into that and possibly even joining that. Our children should not be programmed. They should be taught how to think.
Mrs. Driscoll?
Yes.
First of all, misinformed because I don't know who the board members were telling you. If Mrs. Coons would like to elaborate on how many teachers she had involved with researching this program. You said just a little bit ago, nobody was involved. We weren't told of anything. Nobody was involved. Now, she can tell you every teacher that was involved in researching the program. Now, whoever the board members was that told you that were sadly mistaken.
Well, if I could get
I have
that
something to say,
information, that would be wonderful, and then we could stand corrected. And
I have
hopefully-
something to say.
Yes.
You can't include all board members that did not do their homework.
Okay.
I've never met you, it's the first time I've ever even seen you. So you can't say all board members don't do their homework, because
Fair
there
enough.
are, actually most of us do our homework,
Okay.
all of us do. I mean, and Kevin is right, if you would talk to her, she had a ton of people going through this. I
Okay.
mean,
Would I have to
don't
do,
say that all the board members
would I
don't
have
do
to
their
get,
homework.
would I have to do a right to know to find out what teachers were involved in evaluating it?
You'd probably get a number.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna get the teachers, but you could probably get a number or
Okay.
something.
Yes, so it would be subject to right to know, just because it's not, isn't a public record per se, that we, have a specific, score sheets or rubrics or anything like that that would be available to the public. But I think a conversation with the curriculum superintendent, assistant to the superintendent, a lot of information that she would have available that she could share with you.
That would be wonderful.
And some of those are the same points that I know were discussed with some of the board members as well, specifically with the selection of that criteria last time, or curriculum last time, and then also for this PASS program as well.
Well, what she stated was a couple of board members told her the only one that picked this program out was the head of curriculum. That's why I just brought it up. There was more than just the head of curriculum brought up this program. So
That's
you're
good to know.
misinformed. That's all.
Okay, well, that's good to know, but
And
I really.
also, I included no on that.
Yes, you did. There were 3 no votes, I believe, on that. So thank you for that, and thank you for doing your homework on that.
That's all we have for agenda items. Moving to athletics, Mr. Renzo.
Thank you, Ms. Mansella. Request approval of a varsity assistant volleyball coach for the 23-24 school year. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to permit a West Virginia Wesleyan student to complete field experience hours with the CAHS Athletic Department in May and June of 2023. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for the CASD Athletic Department in conjunction with the Collinsville City Rec Board to run summer tennis and volleyball camps at CAHS this summer, to be led by CAHS coach and athletes as attached. No questions or objections, I'd like to have it placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Martucci, anything else?
No, sir.
Mrs. Sankson?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans?
That's all, thank you.
That's all I have. That's all, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Renzi. Moving to buildings and grounds, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of Ecolog Company's 3-year subscription program for the telescopic bleacher inspections at the senior high school and middle school at an annual cost of $2,662, $1,837 for the senior high, and $825 for CAMS. With no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Facilities utilization, request approval of the following event and building use request, and with no objection, question or objection, like 1 through 5, spread on the minutes.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Summer employment additions, request a conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following summer employment for 2023 at an hourly rate of $12.50. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request a conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following additions to the custodial substitute list for the 2022-2023 school year. And with no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the quote from Mainline Commercial Pours, King of Prussia, for the senior high school pool repair in the amount of $61,760, $16.43 to be paid from the Buildings and Grounds Repairs and Maintenance budget. And no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Question,
Question?
Mr. Kirk, do you know if that's under contract or under warranty?
It's been 11 years, 10 years, so I doubt it. Maybe they were better if you really maintenance work, just a bunch of leaks underneath the pool, they got to drain it, get rid of the tile in there, get everything up to code. But we do have, I'd say, probably 13 leaks underneath that pool.
We've had, that's the company that put that pool in originally, right?
That's the same company, mainline pool.
Okay, thank you.
And we have this in the buildings and grounds.
Mr. Martucci, anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Kirk.
The only other thing I got is back in March 3rd, we had that big windstorm here. Mark Trey, you were asking about that, who's over there. Their TRS roofing is coming tomorrow. They're starting with the high school, up the gymnasium, replacing all the flashing and going to the middle school. They'll all be in the final package.
Is that covered under our warranty?
Yeah.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Moving to Carnegie for library, Mr. Mongel.
We have no motions on for this month, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mongel. Moving to Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Health Occupations is requesting to hold a junior medical summer boot camp. The day camp will be offered to current middle school students, 7th and 8th grades, through the Collinsville area up to a maximum of 20 students. The camp is scheduled for the June 5th through 9th, 2023, and will run from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The camp will include career exploration, hands-on activities, and demonstrations related to the healthcare industry. A potential guest speaker, snacks, and t-shirts for all the participants. The WIB will be covering costs for supplies, CPR, first aid certification, snacks, t-shirts, total costs covered by the WIB. And with no questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request permission for the CTC to host a car cruise on Saturday, September the 23rd, 2023, from noon to 3 p.m. on the grounds of the CTC. This will be a school-wide fundraiser event. Request permission from Mrs. Dahl, Workforce Development Coordinator, to solicit sponsorships from local businesses to sponsor the CTC car cruise on September the 23rd, 2023. In return for scholarships, business names will appear on the flyers, advertisements, and posters that will support this event. There is no cost to the district for this event. All proceeds from this event will go to Skilled USA. No questions or objections. I'll get placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Mrs. Sangston, do you have anything to add?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Janet? That's all we have. Thank you, Mr. Panzella.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Moving to curriculum, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Curriculum 12A, 2023 Environmental Education Grant. Request approval to accept the Environmental Educational Grant in the amount of $4,370 for the purpose of implementing the Water Watchers After School Club at Springfield Clifford M. Pritz Elementary School for the 4th and 5th grade students for the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
12B, an MOU pre-K counts, Rock Ridge Road. Request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Private Industry Council, PIC, of Westmoreland, Fayette Incorporated, and the Connellsville Area School District to operate its pre-K counts and Head Start program at 730 Rock Ridge Road, beginning July 1st, 2023, and ending on June 30th, 2024. PIC shall pay the district a sum of $45,600 per year in 12 monthly installments of $3,800 as proposed, increase of $1,800 from $43,200. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
MOU pre-K counts, Springfield Clifford M. Pritz. Request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Private Industry Council of Westmoreland Fayette Incorporated and the Connellsville Area School District to operate its pre-K counts program at Springfield Clifford M. Pritz Elementary School beginning August 1st, 2023 and ending on June 30th, 2024. PIC shall pay the district a sum of $9,495 per year in 9 monthly installments of $1,055 as proposed. Increase of $495 from $9,000. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
12D, Seton Hill University. Request approval of the agreement between Seton Hill University and the Connellsville Area School District for college and high school dual credit for the 2023-2024 school year. No question, any questions or exceptions? I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, it will be placed on the agenda.
12E, Renaissance Learning. Request approval to renew the agreement with Renaissance Learning for the 2023-2024 school year at a cost of $59,555.70 to be paid for from the Ready to Learn grant. No questions or objections. I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Item 12F, Algebra and Geometry Curriculum Materials. Request approval for the 3-year agreement with Savis of Envision, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry with $65,622.03 being paid from ARP ESSER funds of $61,718.97 being paid from the curriculum budget. Total cost of it is $127,341 for a 3-year agreement. No questions or objections, would like that placed on the agenda?
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Item 12G, pre-calculus curriculum material. Request approval of a 6-year agreement with Blitzer Pre-Calculus 7E at a cost of $15,231.45. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Item 12H, AP Pre-Calculus curriculum materials. Request approval of a 6-year agreement with Humana Pre-Calculus Graphical Numerical Algebraic at a cost of $15,231.45. No questions or objections, would like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to solicit bids for Tier 2 ELA support materials. No questions or objections, will they get placed on the agenda?
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
12J, book series disposal. Request approval to dispose of obsolete curriculum materials as listed for attached policy number 706.1. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
12K, Intermediate Unit 1 lease agreement. Request approval of the lease agreement between Intermediate Unit 1 and the Collinsville Area School District for its early intervention program effective July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 at a cost of $17,100 at 12 equal installments of $1,425. Includes $525 a month for cleaning. No questions or objections, I'd like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Curriculum Committee meeting was held Friday, May 19th, 2023 at 9 a.m. That's all I have. Mr. Renzi.
I have nothing, Mr. Harrison, thank you.
Mr. Mongell.
Nothing, thank you.
Dr. Kinson.
I have nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshman. Moving to cyber, Mr. Martret.
Thank you, Mr. Panzel. We just have one thing tonight, MOU. Request approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Collinsville Area School District and the Collinsville Area Education Association for Cyber Services, July 2023 through July 2024, pending solicit review and approval. No questions or objections. I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Mr. Kochner's on here. Mr. Mongell, you have anything? Mr. Gobes, anything? That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martret. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Mongell.
Thank you. Item 14A, request the approval to offer a staff professional development day supporting structured literacy and de-escalation on July 20th, 2023, with no cost to be paid from Title IV funds and the curriculum budget. And without questions, I'd like to place that on the agenda for Wednesday.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And Mr. Martucci, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Martret?
Do we have a cost on that? Is there a cost on that?
It'll be based on the number of teachers that attend. So we have to get a number that register.
That's all we have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mongell. Moving to finance, Mr. Renzi.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of the following donations from the Bible Club, the CACTC Heavy Equipment Operations, CACTC Health Occupations, and CATC Cosmetology. No questions or objections. I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the attached requisites and orders and to authorize district business office to process orders and payments. No questions or objections. I'd like to have placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the resolution for the 2023-2024 proposed final budget in the amount of $85,360,209 for the Collinsville Area School District and $4,659,248 for the Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center. Resolution authorizing proposed final budget, display and advertising. Number one, the proposed final budget of the school district and career and technical center for the 2023-2024 fiscal year on Form PDE 2028 as presented to the school board shall be considered the proposed final budget of the school district for the 2023-2024 fiscal year and shall be made available for public inspection after this date. And number two, at least 10 days before the date scheduled for adoption of the final budget, the secretary shall advertise the final budget notice in substantially the form as presented to the school board. The notice shall be advertised once in a newspaper of general circulation and shall be posted conspicuously at the school district offices. No questions or objections. I'd like to have that all placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the errors and omissions insurance participation agreement for the PSBA Insurance Trust School Leaders Legal Liability Risk Management Program for $33,737. Property casual for $220,165. Auto for $14,779. And excess liability $11,441, with the broker of record being DeFurio, Mongel, and Associates for the fiscal year 2023-2024. This includes coverage for the Collinsville Area School District and Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center. No questions or objections. I'd like to have it placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the group term life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance policy rates with Sun Life of 18 cents-2 cents per 1,000 for the 2023-2024 school year, with the broker of record being National Insurance Services. No change in rate from 2022-2023. No questions or objections. I'd like to have it placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the workers' compensation insurance policies from UPMC Health Benefits for $159,993 with the broker of record begin Arthur J. Gallagher and Company for the 2023-2024 school year. This includes coverage for the Collinsville Area School District and the Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center. No questions or objections. I'd like to have placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to accept the following donations for student scholarship. The Breakneck Fund Scholarship, $3,648. Kira Callahan, $1,216. Ellie Christop, $1,216. Rebecca Queer, $1,216. No questions or objections. I'd like to have placed on the agenda, please.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
And we had a budget work session held on May 11, 2023 at 6 p.m. Anything to add, Mr. Lake?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Arson?
Nothing, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Mrs. Robinson?
Nothing further on this. I will have a presentation for you. I'll make sure that I communicate to have the projector set up and the table set so you can all see my presentation on Wednesday. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it. That's all I have, Mr. Panzel.
Thank you, Mr. Renzi. Moving to food service, Mrs. Sangston.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval to purchase a Miro Edge point of sale system for the food service program and a total subscription cost of $5,565 and a one-time service fee for $1,995 for training and information. No objections or questions, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Martre, do you have anything else?
Nothing, thank
Mr. Trevor? That's all we have, Mr. Pinzola.
Thank you, Mrs. Sankey. Moving to personnel and review and liaison, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Panzel. Excuse me. Request approval for a teacher to take unpaid leave of absence for the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for a teacher to take an unpaid leave of absence for the first semester of the 2023-2024 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for permanent contract for the following professional employees based upon completion of 3 satisfactory service with the Connersville Area School District. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request the conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following addition to the professional substitute list for the 2022-2023 school year, pre-K and mathematics. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to waive the return to work after sabbatical requirements for a teacher effective June 1st, 2022. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to accept the retirement of the support personnel effective June 1st, 2023. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to accept the retirement of the support personnel effective August 5th, 2023. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to accept the resignation of a teacher effective June 2nd, 2023. And I'm sorry, no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for the support personnel to take up to 10 intermittent unpaid days is requested for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for support personnel to take up to 10 intermittent unpaid days as requested for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for support personnel to take up to 10 intermittent unpaid days as requested for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval to pay an annual invoice to Frontline Technologies, AESOP, for absence and substitute management for the 2023-2024 school year in the amount of $15,853.09 as budgeted. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that'll be placed on the agenda.
And request approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the Connersville Area School District and the chauffeurs, teamsters, and helpers, local union 491, from the period of July the 1st, 2023 through June the 30th, 2028. No questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, it'll be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Renzi, do you have anything to add? Mr. Harshman?
Nothing, thank you.
Dr. Bradley?
Yes, Mr. Lake, just a quick comment. I wanted to thank both the board and the Teamsters Union that represents our cafeteria workers under the leadership of Vito Dragone and Kelly Herman here at Connellsville Area School District. Those negotiations were very well respected. I think that both groups came to the table, was very civil, and under the leadership of this board and the leadership of their Teamsters Association, we were able to get a respectful contract put forth, and I appreciate the board considering it on Wednesday. Thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Moving to policy and legislative, Mr. Martre.
Thank you, Mr. Panzel. 18A, we have PSBA policy revisions. The first reading was April 26, 2023, and these are the requests for approval of the following revised policies. 137, home education programs. 137AR0, home education program requirements. 137AR1, parent guardian letter. 137 AR2 curriculum materials request form, 137.1 extracurricular participation by home education students, 137.1 AR0 extracurricular participation by home education students, and 137.1 AR1 weekly eligibility report. No questions or objections. I'd like to have those placed on there.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
The additional ones here, first reading was April 26th for the following policy additions: 137.2, participation in co-curricular activities and academic courses by home education students; 137.2 AR0 weekly eligibility report; 137.2 AR1 prioritization and placement for participation in co-curricular activities and academic courses; 137.3 participation in career and technical education programs by home education students; 137.3 AR0 prioritization and placement of participation in career and technical education. If there's no questions or objections like that, those placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
18C, we have policy revision. This would be the first reading. And this would be policy 202.1, out-of-district students' attendance. I'd like to have that placed on the agenda.
I have a question.
Question?
I did get a copy of that one, 202. Is there a reason why number 2 and number 4 is blank? It goes from 1 to 7, and 2 and 4 are blank.
Oh. That's okay. Just say it's okay. So it looks like those in the actual document, they're in red font. So if you print it out and it's not in color, it doesn't show up. It'll just show up as being blank. So.
Red.
Those were the edits.
Yeah.
The red were the edits.
Okay.
Do you want this document?
First time I get one and it's red. And blank. And blank.
Anything additional?
Any other questions? No other questions will be placed on the agenda.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martre. Moving to safety and security, Mr. Martucci.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. We have no agenda items at this time. Mr. Renzi, any of that?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Barlett?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Regis, or Martucci. Sticking with you, special education.
Thanks again, Mr. Panzella. Request for an agreement between Barricade, Pennsylvania and Collinsville Area School District to provide education services at a daily rate of $223.88. This is an increase in 2032 per student per day, $20.32 per student per day. With no questions or objections, I'd like that placed on Wednesday's agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the 3-year transition agreement between Head Start, Fayette County, and the Collinsville Area School District, effective July 1, 2023. With no questions or objections, I'd like that placed on Wednesday's agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the adoption of Intermediate Unit 1, IDEA, Part B, policies and procedures as proposed. With no questions or objections, I'd like that placed on Wednesday's agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
And that's all I have. Mr. Lee?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Sangston?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. D'Amico?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martucci. Moving to student services, Mrs. Sangston.
Thank you, Mr. Pinzella. Request approval for the K through 12 voluntary student accident insurance through United States Fire Insurance Company for the 23-24 school year. No questions or objections, I'd like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request to purchase the PASS assessment tool, proactively identifying and addressing social and emotional barriers to learning for 5th and 7th grade students for the Collinsville Area School District at a total cost of $1,911, paid for by the ARP EASER funds. No questions or objections, I'd like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the agreement between the Intermediate Union 1 and the Collinsville Area School District for educational services beginning July 1st, 23 through June 30th, 24. Your questions or objections, I'd like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval for the Connellsville Area School District to participate in the Pennsylvania Youth Survey in the fall of the 23-24 school year. Your questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request for the agreement between the Delphi Education Services and the Connellsville Area School District for the education services for the 23-24 school year at the rates below. Emotional support grades K through 8, regular and special education students, $167.56. It's an increase by $7.98 per day from the 22-23 agreement. Emotional support grades 9 through 12, regular education $96.81, which is an increase of $1.90 per day from the 22-23 agreement. Emotional support grades 9 through 12, special education $114.94, which is an increase in $10.45 per day from the 22-23 agreement. If questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request the conditional approval contingent upon successful submission of screening and background checks of the following volunteer for high school marching band. If questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request for the approval for up to 6 staff from the Connellsville Area School District to attend safe and supportive learning environments prevention before the crisis summit held at Patton Central Office on August 16th and 17th, paid through the Comprehensive Supports Grant through Patton. Any questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
My only question is, where's Patton's main office? Pittsburgh. All right, thank you. That's all. That'll be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the following travel. Jude Gore, Dane Schultz, Dawn Stoner, Courtney Wiltrout, chaperones Wayne Messner. Go ahead.
That one's in Harrisburg. That one's in Harrisburg, at the wrong office.
Thank you.
Julia Messner, Robin Turlington, Xavier Lieblein, Jody Mangus, and approximately 51 students will be participating in the Connellsville Memorial Day Parade. No objections or questions, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Request approval of the 23 driver education vehicle lease agreement between the Connellsville Area School District and TA Nelson Bus Lines at a cost of $700 per month, effective June 23 through August 23. Any questions or objections, I would like that on the agenda.
Hearing none, that will be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Harshman, do you have anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Montiel?
Nothing, thanks.
Mr. D'Amica? That's all we have, Mr. Penzola. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sankey. Moving to technology, Mr. Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. I have nothing. Mr. Martucci?
No, sir.
Mr. Martray?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harshman. Moving to transportation, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Panzella. Request approval of the following updates, additions to the bus, van, driver's list. And with no questions or objections, like that placed on the agenda.
Hearing none, will be placed on the agenda.
Mr. Renzi, you have anything to add?
Nothing, Mr. Lake.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all we have, Mr. Panzella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Nothing under President's report. Next, we'll go to public comment for non-agenda items. First we have up is Sonny Bentley, staff.
I've been asked to read a statement from Sonny Bentley, who is recovering from a medical procedure and couldn't be here tonight. So with that said, I will read it exactly as she has written it. My name is Sonny Bentley. I'm employed by the school district as a classroom aide at CAMS. My daughter attends the senior high school, and I'm a taxpayer of this district, so I am extremely vested in the direction the school board and superintendent are taking our district. First, I would like to touch on the basics of the Sunshine Act for those listening and may not be unfamiliar with it. The Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, 65 PACS Section 701 to 716, requires agencies to deliberate and take official action on agency business in an open and public meeting. It mandates agencies must provide at least 24 hours advance notice, with the notice being printed in a paid newspaper of general circulation and posted at the location where the meeting is to take place. The Sunshine Act gives the public the right to comment on issues that are or may be before the board. Agencies must provide a reasonable opportunity for residents and/or taxpayers to comment on an issue before a decision takes place. An agency may discuss certain matters in executive session, which is not held in public. Section 708 of the Sunshine Act enumerates 7 reasons an agency may hold an executive session. However, a superintendent's contract is not one of them. In January of 2016, the then school board called a special meeting on district consolidation and, unbeknownst to the taxpayers, also voted to hire Philip Martell as full-time district superintendent. Here in 2023, we taxpayers find ourselves in similar circumstances. Our current superintendent, Joe Bradley, is at the end of his second one-year extension, and state law provides him with a 90-day notification window, which is due to expire June 7th of 2023. We, the taxpayers, want to know when the board president is adding this to the agenda. The public has a petition to not renew this contract and will review the cumulative number at the voting meeting Wednesday the 24th, or when the meeting is announced, to hear arguments from the public for a new superintendent. With June 7th just around the corner, our school board should be prepared this evening to give the public a definitive date as to when this will occur. Will you be able to give us a date tonight on when you'll be giving that notification? Our local school board members were elected to serve our community and represent our students and taxpayers' interests of our district. First and foremost, the school board's primary concern should be for our students. The school board is supposed to be accessible to the public and accountable for the performance of our schools and its superintendent. This school board should be ensuring us, the taxpayers, that students get the best education for our tax dollars spent. The school board is obligated to keep the public informed and involved with district matters. Could you give us a date, please, today of when you'll be placing this on the agenda?
That would be up for board discussion. One of the comments that was made was that the Sunshine Act would not include a superintendent's contract. The superintendent's contract would fall under one of the exceptions to the Sunshine Act for executive sessions, so it would be a personnel and an employment issue, which would fall under that specific exception of the Sunshine Act that would enable it to be discussed in executive sessions. With respect to any specific date, that would be a topic for board discussion, and we would specifically evaluate as a board the applicability of that 90-day limitation, given that we're 5 years into the contract at this point.
Right. Do you know what day that contract expires?
So that would be September 4th.
So I think we are coming up quickly on that 90-day provision. Is that correct?
So the 90-day provision the 90-day provision is currently in place for contracts that would automatically be extended if it's not given. Given that we're into the 5th year of a contract currently, that 90-day provision would not be applicable because no automatic extension would be applicable.
So just to get this correct, you could 14 days before that contract expires, give notice that you would possibly be seeking other candidates for that position? Is that what you're telling us?
So the board would have all options available to it between now and the end of that contract.
Thank you very much for your time.
Next, we have Michelle Mowry, teacher.
Hello, everyone. I am a teacher in Collinsville School District and have been for 17 years now. I'm here voicing and expressing my own personal opinions. First, I want to thank all the board members that voted or discussed in SAVE, our academic program at the CTC. You did listen to the people you're representing, so thank you for that. I'm also here about the superintendent's contract. Since our last superintendent to this current one, our school district has been in decline. Test scores, morale, more kids are going to cyber school, homeschool, Christian school. They're leaving our district. Our finances are in shambles. The only reason why we made budget is because of COVID money, which is soon out. Many board members I've talked to about the superintendent and his ability to lead. And not one of you, and I haven't talked to all of you, but many of you, and not one of you have said one positive thing about this superintendent. Instead, I hear things like, well, who else are we going to get? We could get somebody worse. We could get somebody like Martell again. We deserve better than that. We deserve better than, well, there's nobody else. I think there are other candidates out there if you look. So I'm asking that you seriously consider not extending his contract, not renewing it, and looking for somebody that can do a better job. And put it out there, at least for the board members to vote, so the public can see who's supporting him and who isn't. And I know some of you are probably very concerned about getting that in the public because you're either up for re-election this year or in a couple years. But it is your job to represent those that elect you, the people in the community. And if you are positive and you feel confident that you are representing the ones that elected you, you shouldn't have no problem getting that out in the public. You should be happy about it and say, hey, listen, I'm doing what you want me to do. And if those of you that don't want to get into the public eye where you stand on this situation, then it tells us, the public, that you have your own personal agenda and you're not fulfilling your duties of representing the people. So I'm just asking you that you get it out for the public and so the public can see. That may help you in the election, it may hurt you in the election, but it's your job to represent the people. There was a protest in Connellsville.
2 minutes.
Thank you. The night before the election. Now there were only maybe 10 or 15 of us actually protesting. Not a great turnout. But the community support, the horns that were honking all night long for, 4 hours was unbelievable. The lady behind me in the apartment came out, she was extremely upset, waiting for all the honking to end. So even though people aren't here at the meetings, they are out there. They do have concerns about the way our district is going.
3 minutes.
So please, just like I said, just get it out there for a vote. Let people see where you stand. Thank you.
Mrs. Mowry, was that protest because of all of us made a decision already to close the CTC or do away with academics? Is that what you was informed of?
There were 2 parts to that. One of the part was because you were considering closing the academics in the CTC, and the other part was about the school board members and, 3 parts, and also Mr. Bradley's contract. So yes.
I know I'm the person who was blamed for trying to close the CTC. Then it went down to Mr. Martuzzi. So I just love when people's misinformed. I'm going to give a little talk Wednesday, and maybe I can inform you a little bit more on the subject, but I hope you're here.
I will be here. I always am on Wednesday. Thank you. But yes, no, it was on the 3 things. So the CTC closing, and if you're implying that I blamed you, I have not. I didn't know who on the board was voting which way or who was pulling.
I'll tell you my story Wednesday.
Sounds good. I always am. All right. Thank you.
That's all we have for...
Mr. Witt, can we have that on the agenda for Wednesday? To have open the contract and...
So I think, given the fact that it is a pretty important personnel issue, I think we would want to talk about in an executive session what that motion would actually be, how that motion would be structured and how that would be worded. And then to run that through the appropriate committee, make sure, or the president, to make sure that it's on the agenda would be the appropriate steps for it to be on the agenda.
I think we just talked about this, Mr. Hirschman, in executive session, but I know you want to grandstand now, so I guess we're going to...
No, I'm not grandstanding now. I mean, the votes
we
spoke for themselves.
We talked about it, and we had I think everybody on the board came up with a conclusion of what we were going to do, and now you want to change it because somebody got up to speak. Pretty sure that's what we did just half an hour ago.
All I wanted was ask if we could get that on the agenda for Wednesday.
I guess the other 8 board members that all agreed of what we were going to do. It doesn't matter right now because you're out here.
All right, that's fine.
Am I missing anything? The board members?
So we can assume
Thank you.
that 8 board members want to continue in the same path.
No, you can't assume anything because this is, what was executive session and you have no idea what we talked about.
I'm sure
Never
you will,
assume.
ma'am. I'm sure you will, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
That's all we had for non-agenda items. Assistant to the superintendent,
I have nothing, thank you.
Dr. Brad.
Thank you, President Manzella. Under legislation, I failed to speak, and I apologize, Mr. Bartray. I didn't have an opportunity to speak under legislative piece of that. I encourage our public and our board members to take a look at HB 301. It's a bill going through the House right now in HB 688. House Bill 301 helps our district with the actual cost of specialized charter schools. These are brick and mortar charter schools that we send some of our most challenging learners to, and this would help with those actual costs rather than another formula. And HB 688 is going through the House as well, and I encourage our board and general public, I know we have an active constituency, I encourage them to take a look at HB 688, and it provides a teacher pipeline scholarship. We know that our ranks are getting low, and we know that it's a thankless job to be an educator at any level. And we appreciate our teachers, and we hope to get those ranks up and get new teachers into the pipeline. And HB 688 provides for that teacher pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Wonder who's going to write a speech for me.
Hey, Joe.
We both have